in brightest day,
in blackest night.
I have the ability to ban anything I don't like. Welcome to Soy Boy Reviews, where we bravely review offensive film content from the lens of intersectionality.
All in an effort to get them banned and hopefully erased from history.
Today, we're reviewing Robocop, another highly offensive pro-thin blue line garbage heap of a film full of over-the-top violence and sexual innuendo that today's right-wing extremists call provocative satire. We had the displeasure of watching this cyber smut, and oh boy are we triggered.
The fact that this won a Saturn Award from a German Nazi posing as a Dutch citizen shows you everything that's wrong with this world. If we had true justice, we'd be launching this white privileged Führer into Saturn along with his freedom of expression.
I'd buy that for $1.
This travesty committed to celluloid begins in a futuristic Detroit, a crime-ridden dystopia that could only be the work of their fictional Republican governor and mayor. We're introduced to Murphy, a laughable excuse for a good cop. Because we all know a good cop is just as real as Santa Claus, the propaganda of Jesus, or a Bernie Sanders presidential nomination.
Murphy reports into his first day of work at the police station of oppression and meets his superior, an Uncle Tom. He also meets his partner Lois, the strong female character we need, but her representation fades quickly. As soon as Lois is assigned to show Murphy around the area, he downs a gallon of misogynade and takes away the keys from Lois.
I usually drive when I'm breaking in on your partner.
Cut to Omni Consumer Products headquarters for another lethal dose of straight white men. Albeit we do get one African American, but he's clearly tokenized and he mimics the behaviors of his white counterparts.
The oldest, whitest man in the room begins his presentation on Delta City, a gentrification project that no doubt targets the removal of poor black and Hispanic people. His problem?
Old Detroit has a cancer. The cancer is crime.
You know, some people rob so they can eat.
I'd buy that for $1.
He turns the floor to Dick Jones, who he'll just call Granddad Hitler, as he presents his final solution.
Ed 209.
ED 209 is the latest addition in the line of police brutality tactics, and Granddad Hitler demonstrates it by taking out one of his own. The scientists can't get ED 209 to stop because it was accidentally set on ethnic minority mode.
Another straight white male jumps in on Granddad Hitler's failure and promises to make a better cop bot that's far more brutal, xenophobic, and lacking in morality. This is an allegory to capitalism, as money is valued higher than human life. I mean, there's a fresh corpse in the boardroom when they discuss this.
Too bad about Kenny, huh? His life's in a big city.
Here's Murphy spitting his gun because he woke up this morning anxious to shoot anyone.
Okay, I get a kick out of it.
Lois here brings him a coffee because I guess she's his secretary now. That is, until a call comes in that there's a crime in progress. This time, Murphy lets Lois drive so he can shoot somebody.
Here we're introduced to the so-called villains of this film with their leader Clarence Boddicker, a man who's struggling financially, just trying to eat.
You burned the fucking money!
See how frustrated people get when they're falling on hard times? He wouldn't be this way if the government had forgiven his student loan debt. Just because his fashion design degree didn't pan out doesn't mean he should pay back $125,000 plus interest.
Clarence and his community pals notice the cops are pursuing them and panic as their parents clearly never gave them the talk. Murphy draws his guns and fires like a wild dog. I can't believe Murphy's arrogance in this situation, as he needed to de-escalate by letting Clarence get away with the money, where he could later follow up with a phone call to politely ask Clarence to return the stolen goods.
I'd buy that for $1.
Clarence, who's clearly wiser in negotiation tactics, sends an arbiter to speak on his behalf so the shooting can stop.
Can you fly, Bobby?
Instead of pulling over, Lois shamelessly hits the arbiter with her car, knowing full well no witnesses are around to see her hit and run.
Thinking they are now safe, Clarence and friends go to their cozy home at the chemical plant. Murphy and Lois show up without a warrant and trespass, but that's supposed to be okay because they're cops. Lois sneaks up on Clarence's African American friend, Working Class Joe, where he's relieving himself. Caucasian women are always fetishizing black men, but don't worry, good old Joe disciplines her for this. It's not misogyny, because real misogyny is institutional.
Meanwhile, Murphy breaks into Emil's family room and shoots his best friend for no reason while forgetting his Miranda rights.
Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Thankfully, Emil is saved from a police shooting by his friends and Clarence the Wise. Clarence shares his wisdom, explaining to Murphy why there is a mistrust between civilians and authority.
Cops don't like me, so I don't like cops.
Murphy clearly doesn't get it.
Buddy, I think you're slime.
Clarence the Wise decides that Murphy should be on the receiving end of police brutality, so that he better understands a misunderstood individual's plight. Clarence the Wise decides when the lesson is learned and mercifully lays Murphy to rest.
Okay, let's get out of here.
At this point, the credits should have rolled. I think the audience has learned enough about police brutality and why we need police reform. The film up to this point would serve as an important PSA on why we need to abolish the police and how good men like Clarence and his group of friends avoided becoming victims of an unjust system. But the director decided to keep telling his misguided story.
Doctors are trying to save Murphy while he sees flashbacks of his perfect white family living in a suburb courtesy of redlining. The doctors are unsuccessful at saving Murphy's life because the Republicans in that area had repealed Obamacare.
Murphy's dead body becomes property of OPC, and they turn him into a robot with a gun. How's that any different from a regular cop? Now he just emits more carbon emissions into the atmosphere.
He's also programmed to follow 3 prime directives.
Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law.
What a load of Maloney baloney. They should have been served social justice, dox the alt-right, and uphold the law when it favors Democrats.
I fucking love that guy!
They also upgrade his racist parameters. Why are all the targets black?
So they send this metal Frankenstein loose on the city to see how much more damage he can do in his community than a human cop. The first place he visits is a convenience store where a man is robbing it. I don't know why they need a cop in this situation, as everyone here is cooperating. We could have had a social worker guiding him on a path to voluntary rehabilitation. Instead, we get Robocop guiding him on a path through a fridge. I blame the lady at the counter. Calling the cops put this man's life in jeopardy.
Robocop continues his rampage as he comes across 2 men attempting to rape a woman. Robocop shoots the rapist in the dick. Now, I'd applaud this, But I think the director should have put things to proper context. Why did the rapist have to look like this? Why couldn't he go with a more realistic approach?
Robocop's bloody campaign concludes at a hostage situation where the city mayor believes he was robbed of an election. What does this brainless tin man do? Help the mayor do a recount of the ballots? Offer legal advice on how to contest the results of the election? Neither. He just punches him out of a window. I guess this is how advanced AI will solve problems in the future. Punching you in the face.
After the night of cyber terrorism, we cut to daytime, where Bob Morton is in a bathroom that isn't non-binary. I thought this was the future. The future is 46 genders. Here, Granddad Hitler confesses to his homosexuality and yearning for Bob. Bob rejects his advances as he's straight,
Fucking mind.
therefore making him a bigot. I don't know why this scene is in the movie.
Meanwhile, Robocop is tired from kicking the shit out of innocent people and decides to take a nap. He begins to breakdance in his chair and leaves to use the bathroom. When done, his police brutality programming kicks in and he decides he wants to go out again to protect and serve. He runs into Lois on the way, who decides to presume his gender identity.
Murphy, it's you.
The next scene has Emil robbing a gas station because reparations.
Give me all your money, bookworm, or I blow your brains out.
The gas station owner can go to college, but Emilio can't.
You a college boy or something? I bet you think you're pretty smart, huh?
So you can see why he had to do this. Robocop shows up to spoil the peaceful transition of capital and solely blows up the gas station where Emil gets into a car accident.
Robocop returns to the station and proceeds to dox Clarence the Wise. He also realizes this whole time he forgot to go back home and check on his wife and kid because he's a typical male asshole. When he returns home, he notices his wife and kid packed up and left. A very stunning and brave decision. Robocop is clearly torn apart because he's lost his son and the opportunity to beat his wife with his new Kevlar-coated fists every time he gets drunk or angry.
Clarence the Wise visits Bob Morton's house to confront him about his drug problem.
Bitches leave.
I didn't know Bob had female dogs, but his house guests decided to leave. Clarence also confronts him about his homophobia and how it hurt Granddad Hitler.
We could have been friends.
The fuck are you doing?
That hurt.
Clarence then leaves some black lemon and just gets up and goes. Lucky for him too, because there was a gas leak at the house.
I'd buy that for $1.
Clarence then visits a sugar factory as he wants to get away from his Robin Hood life of crime and make an honest living. Guess who screws that up? Murder Cop breaks down the door and annihilates everyone, knowing his badge will fully exonerate him of any crime. He leaves Clarence for last, so he can rough him up until he identifies as cop.
I am a cop.
Robocop dumps Clarence the Wise at the station on bogus charges.
What's the charge?
He's a cop killer.
And he goes to arrest Granddad Hitler as he's supposed to be behind some conspiracy theory.
You better take me in.
I will.
Robocop can't arrest him because of his programming. Directive 4 will not let him arrest rich white men with institutional power.
Granddad Hitler seeks ED 209 on him, but since cops can't arrest other cops, the two run into a stalemate. Real cops show up and start firing mercilessly like regular cops, cause that's what they do. Lois is the only cop who defies orders, so that makes her an honorary Antifa member.
As the evening descends, the police go on strike and all is better in the world. People are reclaiming what capitalism stole from them. Clarence the Wise and his friends are freed from prison and decide to take on the honorable job of community policing.
I like it!
The only officer that needs to be abolished now is Robocop!
Clarence the Wise discovers that Robocop broke into his home again, so he and his team decide now is the time to defund him. Due to his racist programming, Robocop takes out the minority first. Emil accidentally crashes into some green stuff and turns into a werewolf. And the Italian-American type is blown up. His crime? Operating a crane like a typical Italian-American.
Then the film promotes Christian terrorism, where Robocop marches on water like he's Jesus or something. He makes an open threat to kill Clarence the Wise, even after he cooperates with authorities.
Give up.
I'm not arresting you anymore.
Don't mess around! Hey! Hey! Come on, man, now don't get killed!
Clarence, of course, had to defend himself, and Robocop outright murders him. Lois is concerned they will go to jail for murder 1, but Robocop assures her their crooked police union has her back and will cover it up for them.
They'll fix you. They fix everything.
Robocop goes back to OCP to try and arrest Granddad Hitler again, who panics and holds the old man hostage. Robocop tells the old man he cannot arrest Granddad Hitler because he's rich and white, which goes against his police programming. The old man fires Granddad Hitler, switching his economic class from rich white man to poor unemployed white man applying for welfare. Robocop shoots him without hesitation.
Dick, you're fired!
Thank you.
The old man congratulates Robocop on first-degree murder and asks for his name.
Nice shooting, son. What's your name?
Like anyone actually gives a shit. How can you sum up all the characters in this film? Oh, I know. A group of assholes. Murphy's just a trigger-happy cop. I've heard right-wing sympathizers claim that this is a story about a man reclaiming his identity. That's a bag of malarkeys. If this was a story about identity, they would have made it about gender identity.
Frankly, why'd they have to make Murphy into a robot cop? Why couldn't he be a robot social worker or psychologist? The statistics are clear. If cops bring psychologists to an active crime scene, they'd automatically de-escalate the situation by 98%.
I'd buy that for $1.
Clarence the Wise and his misunderstood friends were not fairly represented in this film. As soon as they took on the role of community policing, they were all killed. Clearly the director has a pro-police message here, but I can assure you it falls on deaf ears. The whites of the round table in their ivory tower were not only uninteresting, but they also acted like complete parodies of corporate sharks in the 80s. What was the director trying to say here?
The camera work is clearly bigoted. It was only trying to capture Murphy in a good light and Clarence the Wise in a bad one. You could tell the actor playing Clarence wasn't happy with the cinematographer's approach.
Take a look at my face, Dick.
What is this? The white supremacy national anthem?
We give this 3 out of 10 soy milks, only because a police officer was killed, straight white males were killed, and we had a quick glimpse of a world without police.
We also give it 10 out of 10 Molotov cocktails to get this offensive content banned and burned forever!
Your silence is violence. Subscribe, like, and share to get this Drek banned.